Should mention that though it was the Ohio State Highway Patrol that initiated this traffic stop, it's the actions of the Circleville, Ohio Police Department that are being called into question here, and their decision to release their canine officer as the suspect involved, as you're about to see, seemed to be in the process of surrendering himself to authorities. Now, a warning to viewers, and we cannot do it enough, this video is difficult to watch, and we'll warn you again when the footage takes that disturbing turn. The footage provided by Ohio State Highway Patrol is disturbing, but now under scrutiny after a man was mauled by a police officer's canine. July 4th, Jackson County, Ohio. A case report shows a highway patrol officer in a marked vehicle tried stopping the driver of this big rig for a missing mud flap. The man behind the wheel, later identified by authorities as 23-year-old Jadarius Rose, drives on, and a chase begins. About 20 minutes into the pursuit, the big rig is seen rolling to a stop.
Get out of the truck!
But that lasts only a few seconds. The driver continues to flee, and officers stay on him for another 8 minutes.
He took off again. We're heading northbound.
It wasn't until police used tire deflation devices
We're stopped.
that the chase came to a slow but dramatic and disturbing stop. That's a Circleville, Ohio Police Department canine unit rolling up to the scene. After repeated orders from state troopers, the driver eventually steps out of the rig, his hands in the air as requested. A patrolman is heard asking the canine to not be released. Though it's unclear if he could be heard by all officers on scene, that's when the canine is deployed.
Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Do not release the dog with his hands up. Don't get the dog off of it.
After the canine takedown, an officer approaches, then quickly walks away, her hands covering her face as Rose screams in pain. The frustration audible in the voice of another state officer.
Was that not loud enough?
After the dog is removed, officers move in to arrest Rose and administer first aid.
Yeah, you just let a dog bite me.
All you had to do was come to me.
I was coming, all the guns pointing at me. How you do you expect me to respect you? You got a gun pointing at me. It's like 20 of y'all.
All you had to do was stop, brother.
I did stop.
A spokesperson for the Ohio State Highway Patrol tells CNN as troopers were attempting to gain compliance by providing verbal commands to the suspect, the Circleville Police Department deployed their canine, which resulted in the suspect being bitten. CNN has reached out to the Circleville Police Department for comment. Police say Rose was taken to a local hospital where he was treated and released before being taken to jail. His attorney declined to comment. The NAACP, however, is releasing comment, including the head of the Columbus branch releasing a statement to CNN, really just condemning the actions of that canine officer and the handler. In a statement, you see there writing, the Columbus, Ohio NAACP is outraged at the recent video depicting the Circleville police unleashing a dog on an unarmed black man, Mr. Jadarius Rose, who had his hands up in the air and was on his knees. The officer's peers shouted for him not to unleash the dog, but apparently their shouts fell on deaf ears. For that last portion, we should mention again, we have not been able to confirm whether or not that call from the state trooper to not release the dog, if those were heard by other officers. But Fred, as you can imagine, that outrage, that these kinds of images are reminiscent of pictures from decades ago with dogs being unleashed on civil rights movement members in the 1960s.
All right, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today, I just want to go into, 3 articles that I came across, this being one of them. So, I'm just going to go into them a little bit, bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And as you can see from the clip that I featured, an unarmed so-called black man, was attacked by a police canine, And with that, that's just one of many examples as to why, our people should be aware that this is not our kingdom, This is not our kingdom. So I'm going to start in the book of Psalms 73 and verse 5, and it says, "They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. And yes, this is talking about the nation of Edom, so-called white people. Because again, this is their kingdom. They're not in trouble as other men, And then that particular, officer, he was fired, but at the same time, he's not in trouble for real. They aren't going to give that man any jail time, And then again, it said violence covered them because, they're a violent nation. They're a violent people, because he had orders to not release the dog, but yet he did it anyway. But ultimately, it was the Spirit of the Lord, put on that officer, in particular that dog, to, carry out that particular judgment, So, and then I'm going to go to the book of Obadiah, 1 and verse 10. And it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And yes, Esau, Edom, is, Slakia, getting caught up. But pretty much, he has a perpetual hatred, for the nation of Israel. In particular, the tribe of Judah, even though he hates all the tribes, but, he has a particular hatred for the tribe of Judah, so-called black people, because, Jacob, the progenitor, Jacob, our forefather, he supplanted Esau out of his blessing, So from then up until now, Esau has had a perpetual hatred, for the nation of Israel, and therefore that's why he does these particular violent acts towards us, Ultimately, again, it's the judgment of the Lord, but, again, it's being carried out through Esau, This man hates us. And a lot of our people still don't understand that, and they look, to get justice from this man, but he's not going to avenge you. Only our Lord Yahweh Shai is going to avenge us, This is the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 10, and it says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. Yes, this is not our rest, this is not our kingdom, This is Esau, Edom's kingdom, this is his rest, This is why he is able to do certain things that he does and, not be in trouble as other men, as it says in Psalm 73. He can get away with these things because this is his kingdom, So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, America is not our rest, We have an entire kingdom, that's on the horizon. But in order to get there, America has to be taken out, It's, again, it's upsetting, sometimes, to see that particular thing. But a lot of times when these things happen, our people bring it upon themselves. Ultimately, that guy, if he would have stopped the first time, I'm pretty sure it would have, went a little differently. But again, that was the judgment of the Lord. So it's real quick. I'm going to wait to bring that out because I have another article that I want to go into. So, and that's it for that one. That truck driver being attacked, and he was 23 years old, man. Wow. So there was that, and then I'm going to go into this. It's from The Guardian. It says, we tried to stop them. U.S. family found dead in forest, wanted to live off-grid. Says a Colorado family whose partially mummified remains were discovered at a remote campsite were trying to live off-grid and escape civilization, family said. Authorities have identified the bodies as those of sisters Christine Vance, 41, Rebecca Vance, 42, as well as Rebecca's 14-year-old son. The remains were recovered in and around a tent near a campsite in the Gunnison National Forest about 9 miles from Ohio City, Colorado. Michael Barnes, the Gunnison County coroner, said Tuesday. The woman's stepsister, Travala Jara or Hara, told media that the family set off for the remote area last summer seeking to escape the world. The sisters did not have survival experience and had only done research online and watched YouTube videos on the subject. We tried to stop them, Hara told the Gazette, but they wouldn't listen. Their minds were made up. A hiker came across the remains earlier this month, spotting a body outside the family's tent. 2 or more were found inside, and deputies began investigating the site to identify the remains. Authorities found empty food cans, books, and a restroom area at the campsite, Barnes said, suggesting that the group survived off canned goods. Their bodies showed signs of malnourishment. Investigators are waiting for toxicology reports to be processed. They have not yet determined a cause of death, but suspect the group may have succumbed to starvation, freezing temperatures, or carbon monoxide poisoning from trying to make fire to stay warm, Barnes said. Authorities did not find any vehicle or firearms at the campsite with the bodies. Barnes told the Colorado Sun that the exposure to elements and an especially harsh winter likely contributed to the family's demise. It was a significantly harsh winter for us this year, and it always is here, Barnes said. We did have more snow than we have had in the past couple winters. The 3 likely started camping late summer and died sometime over the winter. It appeared they began to build a lean-to type shelter, but not finished by the time last year's harsh winter began, he said. I wonder if winter came on quickly and suddenly they were just in survival mode in the tent, Barnes said. They had a lot of literature with them about outdoor survival and foraging and stuff like that, but it looked like they supplied at a grocery store. So that's pretty much all I'm going to read on that. Slakia. I'm going to stop right here and then I'm going to come back.